Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Y'all hear me okay? I didn't even look to see levels earlier, but it looks like it's fine. Good morning, chat. I'm surrounded by chat. This is funny. I've got right now the way my screen's set up, I have to pop out, but I could also see the normal chat window. So it's just like chat on both sides of me. Stereo chat. It actually kind of works. It's like, oh, it's over there, and you're over there, and you're over there. But yeah, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Had a little bit of a holiday yesterday and tried, probably mostly successfully, um, in terms of not doing too much work. I did eventually get in there and work on a preview and work on frame trap stuff in the evening. Um, got some, oh, just some small like playlist and that kind of thing in the morning. But yeah, I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about today. So you guys can throw some questions or whatever at me because I'm not sure. I do not know. I think this has been my first hangout since I got back too. Yeah, schedule for this week. I got to get it up there. It's should be up to date on the site, but I haven't put up the graphic yet. Um, that's one of the things. That's one of the feedback I got like a couple months ago. It's like when if I start bugging people about the schedule on like Sunday, it like stresses them out. So it's like either I have to try to get it done on Friday, or I just have to wait until the week gets going to finalize things. And if I don't hear back from people, then I just got to put it up. Just got to put up what I know and let the rest of it fill in later. Am I prepared for Game of the Year discussions yet? Swordfish, I don't think I will be prepared for Game of the Year discussions personally, um, just at all. I'm trying to play some things, but yeah, this whole year, including now, it's just been very hard for me to get in the headspace just to play games a lot of the times. So yeah, so like until like Friday or Saturday, I don't know exactly when, but like I hadn't even played anything at all. Like I hadn't turned on any game whatsoever from the time I had gotten back home until like after the podcast last week sometime. But yeah, so definitely going to be leaning more on the others and just trying to direct the conversations and that sort of thing. And it's hard too because it's like I'm trying to squeeze in some other stuff, but it's like I know I'm not going to finish like Midnight Suns, and I'm not going to finish Xenoblade. So it's just like, Um, question on behind the scenes: Does Frame Trap have behind the scenes stream like the Easy Allies podcast? Yeah, the it does, but it's not necessarily every time because sometimes, um, if well, like it's easier to do it when Isla's there for one. So sometimes just if Isla's not there for the day, um, or if we're talking about something that's like the embargo is like just after we record kind of thing. So it's like we want to get that coverage in, but we can't we can't do that live. So but it could go up, when the early access goes up the next day or whatever. So that's it. Kind of yeah. It sort of just depends. But we definitely could be doing it live today. Um, I'm just not entirely sure. I think the lineup would be okay for it, unless there's something I don't know about. But yeah. Um, just get to the beginning of Chapter 6 of Xenoblade 3, and your GOTY discussions are set. I highly doubt I would get that far into it, but we could see. I have to decide, I'll probably decide day by day what I'm actually going to play for the rest of the GOTY stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of things I should probably try. Like I haven't even played Sifu. I've played a fair bit of Rogue Legacy 2, but like not I feel like I haven't made that much progress, but it's like one of those games where I feel like I could play it forever and not make a lot of progress. Um, yeah, but uh, but yeah, I have not even cracked open Xenoblade yet. So, what are my Kirby thoughts? Yeah, I don't know if that'll end up being on Frame Trap or not. So I guess I could talk about it, but it's definitely surprising. Um, it's it's crazy that it's the first 3D Kirby game because it just feels like they just kind of nailed it. Um, they just got how Kirby should be in 3D like right off the bat. Um, I don't have a lot of issues with it. They don't bother you with too much camera control or camera nonsense going on. So it all feels very smooth and still easy to play through. Um, but unlike most Kirby games, there's a fair amount of depth and challenge to dig into there. So it's pretty wild. Um, I really like when I got into like some of those optional levels where you kind of had a speed run through and like get everything done in a certain time. Like I was getting a lot out of that, and then especially with the optional boss objectives, there's a lot to dig into there and just like really kind of learn nuances of the abilities that you otherwise don't need to pay attention to. But then if you like have a boss that's like use this ability to defeat this boss, and it's like wait, I have to play differently or try to beat the boss without getting hit or whatever. And then the arena and the post game levels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it's good throughout, but then I feel like it really opens up as you're getting near the end and the optional stuff and all that. Um, yeah, so we're doing our discussion next week, but the actual videos will go up on the 31st. So, will we take January off for reviews and pick reviews back up in February? Um, there are people working on reviews too right now, um, or at least games that they're covering. I'm not sure exactly which games are people have in mind to fully review and which ones are just frame trapped. Like One Piece, I'm not sure. I think Brad's going to review One Piece, but I'm not 100% sure. That came to us super late. I think that was just like a casualty of the holiday break with the timing on it, because IGN got a little bit earlier than us, but not that much earlier. But yeah, it's a big game to try to jump through when you get it like 2 days before release. And yeah, people still preparing for Game of the Year and Frame Trap and all that stuff as well. Um, but yeah, so if you're not familiar with how we do the awards, because they are long, complex discussions, um, it could be shorter this year. There are fewer people here, um, but and then I haven't played as much as I usually play because I'm just like I said, like I haven't been quite in the headspace for it. Like doing the podcast takes a lot out of me, and then I get this dumb anxiety about just starting a game, in particular, um, and like I always feel like there's something else that maybe I should be doing, you know, especially now. So then I just kind of get overwhelmed by all the options. It's like, oh, I need to start Seafood. I was like, oh, I need to start Xenoblade. Oh, I need to uh, play. I haven't played. There's like games to play in one night. I want to check out some of those. So it's just one thing after another um, that's on that backlog, and it's like, that's not even the half of it, right? Like I haven't played Horizon at all. I haven't played Stray at all. Yeah, so like it's just hard. It's hard. It's dumb because it's like the video game playing part should be the easy part, but it's sometimes for me just hard to relax and focus. And then if I can break through like an hour or so, then I'm it kind of chills me out and I'm good to go. But it can be it can be hard to just get those sit down calm down, stop looking at dumb things I don't need to worry about, and just play a game. Yeah, little Gator game. Heard good things about that. Um, Wait, for games to play in one night? In Tinykin is a game to play in one night? Tinykin seems like it's longer. That's surprising. Um, huh. Should I don't know where I should write that down, but I guess I'll write it down somewhere. Little Gator game, one night. If you say so. Tinykin, I'm very skeptical on that, but I could be wrong. Yeah, people say Tinykin is a weekend game. Takes a few days to play. I definitely thought that one was because we played a fair amount of it, and it didn't seem like we would just be done with it in a couple hours. Mm-mm. 9 hours completionist for Tinykin, 6 hours for main. Got it. So it's like, yes, that's one of the things we're debating about with games to play in one night too. Is like, okay, you could do this, right? You could do this in 7 hours, but you should do it. Or, but should you? Is it probably better just take a break and come back to it the next day or whatever? Um, and then similarly, there are some games like when we do something like the Dark Pictures games, like those games are kind of long, but by the nature of them, they feel like you should probably try to do that in one shot. So um, yeah, yeah, is Stray a one night game? Good question. I haven't gotten into it. Um, it definitely feels a little bit easier. Um, I'm going to talk about it on Frame Trap, so I don't want to get too deep into it. But I played through Hindsight. I like, yeah, that's a one night game, like that, absolutely 100%. Um, Somerville is basically a one night game, except the endings are so frustrating that I don't know how I feel about nominating it for anything. I just didn't feel satisfied by how that game wraps up, even though I thought it was fairly cool. Stray's kind of long for one night, yeah. Um, I think A Little to the Left is a good one night, although you do want to go back for the optional objectives. But um, I feel like it's good to do a first pass at those puzzles in a single night. Hello there, Alchemist. Would the new Stanley Parable be considered a one-nighter? I think that's one that I've been thinking about on that list. Um, but I don't remember whether I did it all in one shot or not. I probably didn't. But because it's Stanley Parable is one that I think that like you could get through all of it in a night, but then you got all those optional endings and stuff to go back to. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. I missed it the first time around. I think that is one of the games that feels like it's really been overlooked though. So I might try to sort of refresh my thoughts on that because yeah, I think it's really fun and really excellent and actually super funny. Um, and I don't feel like anyone's talking about it. And maybe people just think, you know, spoilers that it's maybe people think that it's a remake or something along those lines, but it's not. um, Maybe some books I've read lately. Yeah, I actually have been reading a fair amount, although I don't know how much it counts because it's like rereading. Because okay, so um, and again, what a rabbit hole to get down. What, but this is that's what I'm saying. It's like the headspace. It's like it's more headspace than actual work of getting into playing some of these games. Um, is so I've read through. Um, most of the Outlander series, and then it's been on Stars, and then when we moved, we didn't have cable anymore, and so we kind of fell behind on the show, and then got the Star subscription a while back to start catching up, but then I got kind of knocked out of doing that because what I ended up doing was I ended up like getting into like comparing things, going back and forth and comparing, and then I didn't read for a while, but now it's like we got to stop paying for this subscription because we're not watching anything else on it. So like trying to binge through the series, but this like weird like binge watch plus read. So it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. Um, but yeah, it's funny because it's like we're both yelling at the show for different reasons. My wife hasn't read the books, so then I'll and I think that's why it's easy for me to get sucked into doing it because it's like she'll want to know how things played out in the book, and then it was like, what? This guy died a long time ago. So, but can we get Gabby a better cam and microphone set up for future spoiler mode stuff? Um, we'll have to see. I don't know if we have any extra mics around. Um, yeah, we'll have to see what would be best for a setup. There might be like a Yeti or something that nobody's using anymore that wouldn't be as high quality as what we've got right now, um, but wouldn't necessarily require her to get like a mic arm and all that stuff. But because I think she might just be like whatever is like on a laptop. Um, and I want to say somebody has an extra camera, but we'll see. We'll have to find out. I don't think our camera matters all too much, but yeah, a better mic sounds like it's needed. Mike Hook, thanks for the resub. Sorry to anyone else that resubbed it. I'm just like missed it. Um, wasn't paying attention. Don, I don't think Don has a spare. Um, but because I know he actually had to replace a camera. But we'll see. We'll see if there's anything extra floating around. What else? What else be happening? Um, Trying to think if there's anything to mention just about the whole Christmas break and everything. If you're not aware, I got like a dumb cold right out the gate that kind of dictated a lot of the holiday break for me. Um, which is another reason I ended up not playing a lot of games. Like I played through Kirby and I played some Rogue Legacy too, but I had like six or seven games that I installed and then I didn't play anything else. Um, is that a thin PS5 in the background? No, that's a regular PS5. You're just looking at it from the side, from an angle, with a divider in the entertainment center. Um, but yeah, I'm feeling better now. But yeah, just a bad cold. So it's sleeping a lot. Well, one thing is my sleep schedule is still a disaster. So even like waking up at like 10:30 today was like I'm waking up early to get on a hangout. So yeah, like yeah, with the book reading thing that I was talking about, like I've been up to like 4:30 in the morning. Mm-mm. Did I trim my hair? I have not trimmed my hair in a few months. Um, I don't remember when that was. You can probably look through the podcast and figure out exactly what time that happened. But yeah, what else do we do? Um, I got my phone fixed. We went out to like this. They had like a light display at the stadium in St. Petersburg. I forget what it's called, the Rays Stadium. Um, but we went and we were checking that out, and that's when I first started like feeling like I've got like a sore throat or whatever. Was that night? I think I got it just from basically like marathoning those podcasts, getting three podcasts together, and then shooting three podcasts in a row, and then just like my body being worn out, and then not really sleeping because then I got on a plane, and then by the time I got to Florida, it was like daylight, so I didn't really sleep in Florida that day either. Um, but but anyways, we went to like this Christmas display, and while we were there, like I had noticed that like the top of my phone was like bouncy, I guess, and I could see that it was like popping out. I was like, oh crap, why is my thing popping out? And then I realized that it was like the battery that was bloating out, which is hilarious because I had just finally replaced the laptop that was doing that over and over. Um, so, but then I got sick, so then I didn't do anything for about it for a while. But eventually, kind of towards the end of the trip, um, I went to a place at the outlet mall, and the guy popped it open, and he was like, "Yep, load battery." And I was able to pay like an extra $10 because it was like right before I left. So I paid an extra $10 to get a replacement there on time. And then what was crazy is we were waiting for the guy to show up because he had like a sign that he was out to lunch or whatever. And then when he got there, um, there was this other guy that was just kind of like standing behind, hanging out, and was like asking if he liked the food or whatever. And it turns out that the guy that was asking if he liked the food was like one of the cooks over at the food court, and has like a Greek restaurant over there. And so they invited us to come over and check it out. So we went over, and it was like really good Greek food. Like it was surprisingly, and actually the whole food court. I was like, this is surprisingly good food court. Very nice. For usually shopping malls do not have good food. Um, it's just like usually bottom of the barrel stuff. But anyways, which mall? It's just the little outlet mall that's there in my hometown. But yeah, no Sabaros there. But anyways, so then when the battery came back, then it was just like 5 minutes to swap that out. So that was fun. Um, According to Mallrats, the cookie stand is not part of the food court. Yeah, this one's like it's like mostly outdoors and stuff. But anyways, what else? Mm, 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 mm. Oh yes, I played Kirby a bunch. I was gonna play Xenoblade, but I just didn't end up getting to it. Got to like yeah, Rogue Legacy 2, like those games. Yeah, it's like what phone is it? I have a original iPhone SE, and what's funny is that like Game Awards and stuff. Um, I would pull up my phone and people would mark at how small my phone is, and it's like this used to be the size of everybody's phone. They just decided to make them big a couple years ago, and now people forgot. Like, how y'all carrying around these giant phones? I don't know how you get them in your pockets. And it has a headphone jack, so I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon if I have to, if I can hang on to it. And even the guy, it's funny. It's a typical comment for a phone repairman to say, but it was really funny because like he's like, see, if you take care of your stuff, it will last. um, yeah. So, like how many phones does he deal with on a daily basis that are just somebody just not paying attention? I've never even had a I've never even bought a case for a phone. I've got one like cosmetic crack like on the very back, but I've never like cracked a screen or anything. Mm-mm. But there's that. What else we do? So obviously there's like general shopping and stuff. Um, we did go out and see the manatees. Like to do that. Most years when I go back, there's a power station up um, a little north of us, off of Tampa Bay, where the warm water discharge creates kind of like a little uh, oasis, like a little safe spot for the manatees to go to when the water gets cold, because um, they can get like sick and stuff if like the water gets below like 60 degrees or something like that. So they find these warm inlets and springs and things like that, and this one power station where they were already coming in, they built this whole visitor center and boardwalk and museum and signs and just sort of just like crowds of people there going out up on this boardwalk to check out the manatees. Um, and it's a pretty cool spot because a lot of times they'll be farther away, but some will be closer up, and there'll be calves and all of that there. Um, but you could see, like literally like a, a couple dozen or a couple hundred manatees on the right day going back and forth. And then there are also like some just like huge fish that'll also come in there. Sometimes you'll see rays, sometimes you'll see sharks. Yeah, we actually, it was a little too far out to see them clearly, but like there's a group of sharks that was a little further off that we could see circling back and forth. I didn't see any this year, but some years there will be the spinner sharks, uh, and they're called that because they jump out of the water and barrel roll. um, it's part of their hunting technique or whatever. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, so it's a nice spot to go see them, and then you know, and they're not really like in a position to where they're getting disturbed by anybody or anything like that. Um, I have been to places farther north where you can get out on kayaks and tour boats, and they'll even let you swim at them and stuff. But I get a little bit nervous about like bothering them. You're not supposed to reach out and touch them, but if they come up to you, that's okay. But yeah, and you're not supposed to feed them either, unless you're like a scientist with an official feeding program. But grew up around. What's weird is when I grew up, I pretty much never saw a manatee in a wild. Like, only time I ever saw manatees was at the aquarium, where they taken care of. We had one that had been there for just decades and decades in captivity. He was like the oldest one in captivity. Um, but um, but yeah, for whatever reason, growing up, I never really saw any in the wild. And then kind of like since I left Florida, then this like manatee viewing center popped up, and then you know um, we've gone to other places. Um, but it's one of those weird things, right? About where you live, like a lot of times you don't take advantage of the things that are around you, and you don't see. And we'd even gotten out on the water a lot, but it's just like we were never in places where manatees necessarily were. We would see dolphins growing up quite a bit, but um, yeah, never got up to any of those places, the springs farther north or anything. But they're like, yeah, and so like if you're just going out on a boat in the river or whatever, like if you would, seeing them in the places we would go to would just be kind of like a random event. Um, I've ever gone fishing out there. Yeah, more growing up, um, and then sometimes when we go back, we'll go out fishing. But I've I've very much out of practice when it comes to fishing, and then and to the extent that it feels like we've fished less over the years, because it feels like anytime we go out there in the past few years, we've just not caught anything. So I definitely kind of like rely on my brother as a guide for all of that. Yeah, Pixelated says they've lived in Tampa Bay his whole life and he hasn't seen a manatee in the wild. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's go to yeah, check out the Manatee Viewing Center. It's over Apollo Beach, uh, is the town. It's kind of on the. It's kind of yeah. It's kind of like if you're going like you've got Tampa in the north and you've got Bradenton in the south. It's kind of like on the eastern side of the bay there. I did go a little max headroom on you for a bit. I was wondering about that. I don't have any dropped frames, but I noticed that like kind of jumped around. But did I? Could you hear me? I don't know if you could hear me, or if my voice broke up for that. Sounds were good. Mm-mm. Twitch was being funky. Well, I saw this. I saw this on my XSplit feed. So XSplit was doing some nonsense for some reason, but stuttered a lot, huh? Or just visually? Yeah, because I did see the visual stutter there. Oh, and audibly. Okay, got it. Yeah, I don't know what that was about then. Because like I said, it doesn't say I dropped frames. So it was just like processing, I guess. XSplit is so weird. Streaming stuff is so weird. Like, you wouldn't think that there would be problems, and then there's problems. Because like what my it's showing my CPU usage at like 7%. GPU's at like 20 to 30%. Memory's kind of high, but not super high. So I don't know. Don't know. Am I doing that thing where I have headphones where there's no audio going? Well, I had audio with the music earlier, so I had to monitor that. And who knows what'll happen during a stream, but it does help focus too. But yeah, that's why I don't get why XSplit will crash sometimes, just like when playing like a YouTube video or something. It's like, what are you doing, XSplit? But I sort of always feel that way too, just in PC stuff in general, where it's like my PC is supposed to be really powerful, but somehow I still see stutters and stuff, little stutters in games that I'm like, I guess you just deal with that, like, because I have a 1080p monitor, so this game's supposed to be able to run in 4K 60. Why do I still see stupid stutters? I don't get it. What's my CPU? i9-11-900 or whatever. At least I'm reading it off of XSplit. I don't know if that's enough detail, but that's what I'm saying. Like according to XSplit, the percentage wise, like it shouldn't even be stressing anything right now. But I'm always wary that if I do the wrong thing, it could crash my whole computer. I don't know why. Let's see. My some Blocky says my work PC is super powerful and it still struggles to smoothly load large PDFs. Blows my mind. Yeah, always assume something is going to go wrong for sure. Wonder if there's anything interesting in my email, but I don't think there is. At least not readable. Da, 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 da. Oh my gosh. I need to just like block some of these quote unquote research groups. Most gaming obsessed states, like I care. Um, Oh, there's a new Wolong story trailer. But I don't know if there's anything to read about. Sorry, chat. I'm looking through emails and I'm not even seeing what you're saying to me. Did I catch any of ADGQ or AGDQ? Yeah. I did not. No. I tell you, them taking away hosting, kind of like that's one of those things where like I usually would catch it because I always have our Twitch page up to see chat, and then now that there's no host mode on Twitch, then well, whoops, I just miss it then, I guess. Um, Cloud gaming may not be where it's at currently, but do you think it'll be the future of gaming? Uh, it'll be part of the future of gaming. Um, but just like we were talking about with the PC stuff, like there's just such a big part of the gaming scene that's not gonna settle for lag, and also not gonna want to be connected to the internet all the time either. But it really is up to the ISPs. It feels like ISP stuff is just stagnant, and so um, yeah, it's strange when you have mobile companies coming around and like talking about doing like 5G in your home as opposed to fiber wire or fiber line or something like that. I'm like, I don't want to do 5G in my home. Come on. I don't want that to be my only internet connection. But who knows? Maybe that'll be the way that it ends up working out. What's something I would like Easy A to do in the coming months? I haven't started thinking about the coming months too much yet. It's okay. It's okay. We'll do stuff. We'll have to come up with a lot of ideas. Do I have plans to go to GDC? I'm really on the fence on GDC right now. Um, Talking with a friend about maybe sharing a hotel room or something, but I don't know for sure whether I'm gonna actually pull the trigger and go. I don't think Isla is going this year. I could be wrong. Uh, but the timing on GDC is just so frustrating for me because it didn't used to be the case, but they're now essentially the same time as our anniversary, and so like now that we're kind of doing like week long anniversary stuff, it makes it tricky to figure out. It's like, okay, well, I still want to go to GDC, so I'll probably end up being around for like the first half of an Easy X, but then bouncing out to go do GDC stuff if I go. I mean, it just feels like a weird situation. It's just like, oh, all right, have fun, everybody. Bloodworth out. Um, so yeah, this is one of those choices I've got to make and figure out. Speaking of 5G, my phone does not have 5G, um, but yeah, I was thinking of maybe one way I could do it, um, which usually doesn't work out because there's just more things to do and easy to get exhausted. But one thing I could maybe do is like get like uh, Zoom on my phone or something, and then just like call Isla and talk about indie games. Uh, once a day is quote unquote done. Um, but that also like presents like, okay, I got to find a place with a good signal, and that's quiet enough to do that, and that's tolerant enough of me talking at the phone. But maybe I could like go to the park or something. I don't know. We, we'd see. Um, but yeah, GDC it definitely has. I've covered GDC in the past, and so you can go back and check out how I've done it before. But yeah, it's like a three pronged approach of stuff that um, where it's like, yeah, I'll check out some indie games, and like there are quite a lot of games. There's a little bit of a show floor there. Um, Day of the Devs usually has a thing, and there's usually the um, alt control GDC where they have the crazy controllers and stuff like that. And then yeah, I'll go to panels that interest me, and then I'll just talk to people. So it's like those three things. But it's yeah, it's one of those things where I think in the past I've just like done a single wrap up video. Um, but going to GDC isn't necessarily for like direct coverage. Um, yeah, it's not like a thing where like I'm going to go and post up like 20 videos about all the individual games that I saw, most likely. But it would be interesting to like experiment with like, yeah, kind of like doing a thing from my phone. I just feel like anytime I've tried to do that in the past, it's like, yeah, just the timing of it is like by the time I've gotten dinner or whatever, it's super late. So I'd have to find a time to schedule that in and a place to actually shoot from. But who knows? Mm-mm. Now that scalping is over, what do you think of it? Do you think it was okay as long as it didn't harm people? I mean, it harmed people. I mean, everybody that doesn't have uh, the cash to pay extra just couldn't find that stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan. Did I see the Forspoken PC requirements? I didn't really look at them. No, crazy stuff. What was it? What was the other one that was crazy? Like Returnal, right? It's got crazy requirements. No, they weren't talking about scalping for a GDC ticket. I think they were just talking about PS5s and stuff. Yeah, I feel like anytime I look at specs like that, they still kind of wash over me. Like, even though I've had to put my PC together somewhat recently, I still am just like, what is that? But I don't, I know I don't have to worry about mine really, but oh, requires an i7 12700 and 4080, 32 gigabytes of RAM for 4K. I'm living a 1080 dream. Is there a game that requires two PCs to run it? Hey, the dual card thing has gone out of fashion. That's nice. Doubling up on cards. What a what a madhouse. Yeah, see, like you're talking about like different generations of CPU versus GPU. It's like I'm just happy to have a computer that'll play my games. I don't know. Dual cars had interesting theoretical benefits, but too much overhead. Yeah, it feels like that's the same thing with like the giant widescreens, right? It's like, oh, this is a cool thing for a very specific game, and then the rest of your games just kind of breaks the HUD. So now you have this monitor that feels kind of useless. Yeah, that's my reference point. Isla just kind of hates the ultra wide. What's crazy to me is somebody with that just kind of runs a single monitor. Um, is it doesn't feel like dual monitors stresses out a GPU or not. It's just like it's a completely kind of seamless thing. It's like you could run those monitors and it doesn't seem to make a difference to it. I guess maybe because everything's running in the background anyways. Do you think Capcom will do anything else for Mega Man other than that Battle Network collection this year? I don't know. I'm not sure how Mega Man 11 or whatever did. I don't feel like that got a whole lot of buzz. It's like it just sort of came and went. It's wild. It's wild for like a series like that to have been so prolific, so many Mega Man games, and then just to kind of feel like it became a trickle, or even like when they were still coming out to a degree, like they just stopped being significant. Stopped feeling like that series was like really moving forward, and like it was just having sequels. And I think particularly like yeah, for a lot of it, like a lot of those games just became sort of um, like handheld only too. But yeah, it would be wild to see Mega Man get more of a resurgence. Capcom has updated their million sellers list and reveals that Mega Man 11 is now the best-selling Mega Man game of all time. Previous record holder was Mega Man 2, which released in '88. Wild. Can we get a Mega Man Metroid Prime style game? Yeah, the some of the Zero games, from what I understand, took a little bit more of a Metroidvania approach, right? Yeah, it's interesting to think about that because it's like a Mega Man game in some ways is like it's got sort of Metroidvania elements but without a connected map. Because it's like you get one power and then that can do things in another stage. Um, and then it's about figuring out which powers work best for which stages, which is definitely something I pretty much always cheat at. Like almost never go into a Mega Man game blind. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to do first? It stopped suddenly after the Inafune drama. I feel like it had slowed down some before that, but yeah, it's been quite a bit. So maybe you're right. It's been a while since that happened. What's the mega meta? Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Like that was like one of the biggest things for me as a kid was Mega Man. And it felt like it was huge, but I feel like there's a lot of games like that where like they felt huge, but somehow they didn't sell a lot. And it's so crazy to think of. Which, Metroid is one of those things, right? It's like because Metroid was in the Captain N cartoon and all of that, it was like really highly acknowledged. Um, and you had friends, and you'd play at your friend's house and be so confused with the game. But how many people actually bought it? You know, Yellow. Thank you. Have a good lecture. But yeah, I mean, obviously Mega Man had to have been selling well because there's a sequel like every year, and then they had a concurrent like old school Mega Man and Mega Man X going at the same time for a while. They had other spin-offs going at the same time. Did I get to play Citizen Sleeper? No, I have not played Citizen Sleeper. That's one that I've got to. Don't know if I will. Probably should try. Pentiment is another one I have not got to. Immortality is another one I have not gotten to. Is Immortality a one night game? Curious. Immortality feels like it could be a one night game, but I could also see it taking a little break. Star Fox 30th anniversary this year. It's a time for another game. Oh wow. Yeah, that series is weird. I never even played the Wii U game, which I kind of dug despite it being insane, but it is like one of the few things where the gamepad was actually used for something that you can't easily do on another system. But yeah, I don't imagine that there's another Star Fox coming soon. Am I a fan of Star Fox Adventures? No. I would like to be. Oh, that's one of those games where like I look at it and it's like, man, this is a good looking game. And then I try to play it. It's like, man, this is a boring game. And it's like, oh, and I don't know that keeping it Dinosaur Planet would have helped because I did watch like, those leaked Dinosaur Planet videos or people playing the leaked Dinosaur Planet build. And obviously it was an early build. It was very unfinished. Um, but it just yeah, it's a game that just kind of it feels drawn out in a weird way. And it has that rare issue of just having way too many collectibles. But yeah, yeah, it's one of the few games that back in the day, because like now it's pretty common for me to start games and then just not get back to them because of something else getting in the way for work. Um, but Star Fox is one of those games where it's just like I just didn't want to keep playing it. I thought it was really pretty. It's still really pretty. You look at the stuff that they were doing technically, and it's just like, how the heck? How did you pull this off? And then, yeah, just shoehorning Star Fox in there was definitely strange. Flying stages and stuff. I remember renting Star Fox Assault back in the day as well. There's this like weird brief period when it was like a rental exclusive before it went on sale. But I miss the good rental store. And I think that yeah, I think the industry kind of misses that too. I mean, we basically have Game Pass now. It's essentially your rentals, but us poor kids, I don't know. I guess I guess it would work, right? Instead of paying $10 to rent a game, you pay $10 for Game Pass, and you got that whole big bucket of games there. But then you've also that's the other thing. It's like we didn't have to worry about online subscriptions back then either. So it's like your parents are already having to pony up if you want to play anything online. I know you love F Zero. Are you also a fan of SSX? I haven't ever really put the time in. I haven't had, you know, because I didn't get a PS. I was like totally GameCube during that generation. I didn't get a PlayStation 2 until very late. Um, I think it was even after the PS3 was out. Yeah, yeah, that happened to me. So yeah, the first PlayStation I didn't get until after the PS2 was out, and this PS2 I didn't get until after the PS3 was out, and so I got the little Slimmy. Um, so there were really just like a few games that I played on the PS2 itself, and then one of the reasons that I got the PS3 when I did was because of the backwards compatibility, and so I could keep catching up on PS2 games. But SSX is never one of those ones that I really got that into. Um, Definitely something I would enjoy though, for sure. I've seen those Kyle and Jones streams for sure. GameFly does still exist, surprisingly enough. You can still do that for rentals. Um, but I think there's just part of the yeah. I think not having rental stores though uh, is is part of the idea of just not knowing what to do with yourself on a Friday night and going and see, walking through the aisles and see what movie or what game you might want to rent. Um, which, again, you sort of get that with Game Pass and you don't have to go anywhere and with streaming, but a lot of times streaming is super weird with how things get removed. Um, in a rental store, you could just find some random old movie that's still sitting on the shelf and like, oh, check this out. And yeah, you could just, yeah, there's something a little bit more interesting about walking through a store and picking up boxes and checking out the back of the box than scrolling through online digital profiles. Which is funny because, like, when you're skimming through those profiles, you can, like, watch a little trailer or whatever and get a better idea of what it is, but most of the time you just kind of keep scrolling. Oh yeah, the rentals would actually have instructions or the photocopied instructions, which are great. Oh, stumps! I probably won't check that out right now, but no, I have not seen people covering famous songs with Mario 64 instruments. That's funny. Local library has game checkouts. Yes, doesn't compare to the old Blockbuster. Yeah, every once in a while I flirt with the idea of getting back to the library, but it is true. Um, a lot of libraries do have games, um, and have for some time. I remember being surprised by it back when I first came to LA and I was going through the Central Library downtown. Um, but that was over 20 years ago now, so I imagine it's not that uncommon. I'm curious how the libraries deal with like generations and stuff though. Is like, do libraries they, they can you go into a library and grab an N64 game? Food for thought. Hmm. All right. Well, I've got some message going on in Slack that needs my attention, and then I've also got to get myself ready to head in and do frame trap, and then also going to shoot a preview um, that'll probably go up later this week, and then we got Vengeful Guardian Moonrider that we're going to be playing for group stream tonight, which seems pretty cool. From the same dudes that made Blazing Chrome. It's got kind of people have compared it to Shinobi as well, but it just yeah, very good looking retro style action game, which we are gonna like for sure. Don is gonna be into that. Heber is gonna be into that. Brad's gonna be into that. Um, Sounds like Swordfish has already played through Moonrider. Boost the music, good stuff. And yeah, thanks for hanging out here on Twitch. Thank you for hitting those subs. And if you are not already a patron, head over to patreon.com/easyallies. That's how we are funded. That's how we do all this good stuff. There's a Moonrider preview that Huber did, and I keep thinking Brad did for whatever dumb reason. But yeah, and then I also try to get that schedule posted. But the site schedule's up to date, basically. The only thing I don't know who else is going to do a hangout later this week, but hopefully we'll get another hangout in there. If not, Thursday is kind of busy anyways. We got both Trash Babies and Frame Trap going up Thursday. But yeah, good morning. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you later today.